Get me that signal. We need no panic. Attention trainees, this is Captain Miller. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the final phase of your training. Each of you will be assigned to one of our new modified fighter shuttles, which you will fly to your assigned capital ships when your training is complete. Well, now it's nappy time for me, so Little Shat and I are going to go to my cabin. Quiet, Little Shat. I will be turning you over to Commander Skydancer, who will be leading you through your field exercises. Pay attention, and you just might live through graduation.
Thank you, Captain. All right, rookies. No, I said rookies. Listen up. This is going to be a test run. We need to get you ready for your assignment to your capital ships, and the only way to do that is with practice. Currently, we only assign one fighter pilot to each capital ship, simply because higher numbers of fighters tend to end up accidentally shooting each other into big balls of space dust. But keep in mind that your one small fighter might just mean the difference between winning and losing a battle. They're small, they're fast, and they're dangerous. And that's what I want you to be. First off, we'll work on 2 fighters against a single capital ship. Now don't worry, you won't be able to accidentally shoot each other, as there will be no live rounds. Next up, we'll practice with 2 teams of a capital ship and fighter against another capital ship and fighter. And finally, we'll go one-on-one, fighter against fighter. The first one of you rookies... No, I said rookies! That scores a hit on me gets to graduate. Okay, everyone switch to tactical view, and we'll go over the rules of this game. Without precise calculations, we could fly right through a star or bounce too close to a supernova, and that'd end our training real quick, wouldn't it?
Die Fighter is the first expansion to Stronghold Games Space Cadets Dice Duel game, and there's 2 major pieces to the expansion. The first is a deck of experimental equipment cards, which are used by the big capital ships from the original Dice Duel game to change up the game a bit. These cards allow you to make your ship slightly different from the other player's ship, and so they give you more strategic options that weren't available in the base game. Many of these cards use the dice symbols that we didn't get to use in the base game, like that one, and some of these abilities, that one, can be very beneficial. At the start of the game, 5 of these cards are selected randomly, and then the player will end up picking 2 of these cards for their capital ship to use. Every one of these is different too. NeuroNav interface. If 1 crystal is on this card, ignore nebula. If 2 crystals are on the card, ignore nebula and asteroids. Chrono Compactor. You may declare 2 consecutive freeze actions without the enemy being able to interrupt them. And as you're playing, you just put one of your dice onto this card. That activates it, and you say when you're going to use it. Targeting AI. All sensor dice showing 1 lock symbol are counted as having 2 lock symbols. Let's see. Flux Feedback Torpedo. Ooh, scary. Enemy jammers are halved. That could hurt. There's some other good stuff in here too. Gravimetric Bubble. So, that's the first part of the expansion. The other half of the expansion deals with the addition of the Die Fighters themselves, which are basically 2 smaller craft which have a lot less firepower but greater maneuverability. And there's 3 types of games that you can play using these fighters. You can play with each team controlling a capital ship and a fighter. That's the ultimate game. Or 1 team controlling 2 fighters against 1 capital ship. Or you can just have a dogfight between 2 fighters. And the fighters are controlled by a single person per fighter, so there's no need to assign engineering dice on the fighters. Instead, the fighter player is rolling all their own sets of dice to place on these heads-up displays in order to accomplish everything, including loading a torpedo, getting sensor locks, jamming, movement, and launching the torpedoes or pulse bombs. Pulse bombs are new, and they're intended solely for the fighter player to have a better chance of damaging one of the capital ships. To load a pulse bomb, you would need to roll the orange die, and once you gain a lightning symbol, you can place it into the middle slot of the torpedo tube, like that. This makes the torpedo a pulse bomb. To launch one, you need to be in the exact same square as the capital ship you're attacking. They ignore shields and jamming, but you need to roll the 2 red torpedo dice, and if you'll get a hit if you roll a blast symbol. No! Or 2 on each die. So the pulse bomb can do either 1, 0, or 2 points of damage to the capital ships. The tough part is ending your movement in the same space as the capital ship so you can actually shoot it off. The regular torpedoes work the same as in the base game, with the exception that the capital ship automatically gains 1 additional shield, since these are presumably weaker torpedoes. And they only remove 1 shield die from the capital ship rather than all of them when they get attacked by a fighter. Fighters themselves have no shields, but they can take up to 3 points of damage before being destroyed. And you use the pips on this shield die to keep track of how many points of damage each fighter has taken. Fighters also can't use tractor beams, and so they can't use crystals or mines. Their biggest advantage is their speed, because they use only 2 movement dice as opposed to the capital ship's 3 dice. So you can move a lot faster and you don't have to determine as much in advance. You just pick a scenario, set up the ships, and start rolling. That's all there is to it. And that is how you play the new Space Cadets Dice Duel Die Fighter expansion from Stronghold Games.
This first expansion to Space Cadets Dice Duel really has a lot going for it, because it requires you to learn a whole new set of strategies in order to deal with or operate the fighter craft. The fighters are faster than the capital ships and more maneuverable because they only have 2 movement dice, while the capital ships have 3, so they can change direction faster and can zip across the board while the helmsman is still trying to plot out his first move. And that's the other big advantage that the fighters have, is the fact that they are being controlled by a single person rather than a group of people needing to coordinate like on the capital ships. As the captain of a capital ship, you'll need to learn strategies to deal with these fighters, or you will rapidly get your butt kicked by these tiny ships. Luckily, they have no shields and only 1 forward-firing torpedo, which they must reload after every shot. Sure, they've got the pulse bombs, but they have to be in the same square as the capital ship in order to use it. The capital ships still have their tractor beams and mines, which can be used to great advantage against the fighters by a savvy captain. The new modes of play are great as well, because now you can play a fun, quick game with only 2 players. This is a good introduction to playing with the fighters, and you can finish a game in less than 15 minutes. Additionally, the game now supports up to 10 players, with a capital ship and fighter on each side. This is the ultimate game of Dice Duel, especially if you add in the experimental equipment cards. The equipment cards allow you to mitigate some of the dice rolling luck for strategic use of these cards. All of the cards are different, so you will be experimenting with their different uses and combinations for quite a while. It's also a nice touch that during the ultimate game with 4 ships in play, a destroyed fighter can be replaced with a new one launched from the capital ship, and you can even use a new pilot. You just have to have one of your team members switch roles with the pilot who got themselves destroyed, and now you'll be able to have players take on multiple roles during a single game, which really adds to the fun. Getting the chance to zip around with one of these fighters is just a whole new fun way to experience the game. If you're a fan of the chaos that is Space Cadets Dice Duel, then this expansion is definitely for you. The addition of the expansion only adds to the fun. Everyone is constantly rolling dice and plotting out just what they will be doing next. Keep this in mind when playing the game. Your group may get plenty loud, so make sure that the kids aren't in bed yet, or that you're far enough away from other gamers so that you don't tick everyone around you off. Thank you for joining me in this review of Space Cadets Dice Duel Die Fighter expansion. Let me know if you found this review helpful by leaving a comment or sending me an email at elliot_miller@voiceofe.com. Make sure to subscribe to the Voice of E channel on YouTube, as I'll have plenty of gaming, entertainment, and comic book coverage this year, and plenty of giveaways. Why, I just gave away this game and the expansion, courtesy of Stronghold Games. Thanks again, and until next time, keep your mind free.
Give me that signal.
Whoa!